All right. Hello and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lynn Schmitt, and this is another version of the Learning Lounge. So if it's your first time joining, we welcome you to the conversation, a series that was started to kind of break away from some of the product webinars and all of the destination focus that's one-sided. We found that just being able to have dialogue and open communication on these live calls but also sharing specific topics that are important to all business owners in the travel industry, whether you're on the supplier side or the agent side. So we've had some great conversations and great topics. I invite you to go to our Learning Lounge landing page to see some of the past recordings and also to register for our future events. So thank you all for joining us. To go ahead and get started, and talking a little bit more about what's coming up before I turn everything over to Melissa and April. We do have next week Hillary Hamilton, who is our resident marketing expert and partner for our E3 series. Hillary is fantastic. So it's a really good follow-up to the conversations we're going to have today with April. Hillary's going to make it more tactical and practical for you to be able to take what you learned today from April and what's worked for her and how Hillary has helped her. Is going to help you put it into motion on your business. So I'm looking forward to that. And then also next week, after that, we also do have psychologists coming on, talking a little bit more about, your own personality and how you work in business and being able to thrive in this environment. So it's good to get some other advice outside of just our industry professionals. How to create purposeful goals. I'm looking forward to that. It's a personal friend of mine, Tia Graham, who used to be on the hotel supplier side and has since started her own business about happiness and wellness, something we can definitely all relate to needing more of. And then again, practical side, bringing back communication contracts. So Melissa and the groups team will be talking more about how to protect your business. And then all of July, again, another training I took, more than 10, almost 15 years ago now. And then it still resonates with me and I still take it back. So I'm excited to hear it again, but it's kind of a sales flow process of, prospecting to consultative selling. When people tell you, no, I don't need a travel agent, all the way, and then future travel and relationship building. So it'll be a 4-hour series back to back in July that I think will be super helpful for any advisor with any level of experience. So be sure to go to our landing page, classicvacations.com/learning lounge to register for all of those as well. And then just a little highlight of our current marketing promotion and campaign, just with the current pandemic and everything that's happening in the world. Classic Vacations has been there, through it all, and we will continue to plan on being there with you through the future and what that holds for all of us. So hashtag lean on us. You will find that in our social media platforms, in our email communications. Last week's focus was on education. The next few weeks we'll be talking about some of the technology tools we've been rolling out. So looking forward to sharing that with all of you from our marketing team. And with that, Melissa, I'm going to hand it over to you, and feel free to, again, comment and add anything in the chat box. April has joined us with her own time, so we appreciate you and thank you. And Melissa, I'll let you take over.
Awesome, Lynn. Thank you so much for letting me participate, the groups team, participate in the Learning Lounge. When we were trying to find the perfect place for this conversation to happen, we thought back to our Group Star Performers event last year when we were having a pool party and we had all of our top producing group partners sharing best practices. And so we know how dynamic the sharing aspect can be in collaboration, and both Lynn and I are really aligned on this concept of the power of proximity. It's not necessarily everything you know, but it's everything that the people that you surround yourself with know, and that definitely is the foundation of the Learning Lounge for sure. So Lynn, thank you so much for letting us jump in on what you've built here. One of the most common asked questions that I get from my customers and also from my boss, so I've got it from both ends of the spectrum, is how do we support our customers who have tons of group customers, right? So you do a destination wedding, which is 75% of our business. So I will share that most of the examples today, because April's background was destination weddings, will be destination weddings, but we do have other aspects of group sales. If you have a destination wedding and it's 100 couples going, chances are you knew the bride and groom, but then there's all these other couples. that are brand new to you, and how do you capitalize on that? And it's a path that we really want to go down together. It's a journey we want to take in terms of providing you with the right tools and also providing you with the right insight. And while we can build things at Classic that we think of, also ones that you help us think of, we can't give you the best information like one of your peers can. So April has been a longstanding star performer at Classic Vacations. She was an early adopter of our groups department and really fundamental in helping us build out what it should look like when we needed to change, when we needed to grow, when we needed to make sure we didn't change because we'd found a sweet spot. And to quote April, as I get ready to turn it over to her this morning, once you've booked 10 destination weddings, if you've made a personal connection with each and every guest, which you should, you have enough of a base of customers to get the snowball going and launch the business. But this is up to you. So April, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I know you have a lot going on. She's had a son graduate from high school. She's moved, all while managing a business. Tell us just about you. Everybody loves a good story. So your career, how you got here, your current business model and evolution. And I know we're going to go into some of those aspects deeper, but start us off.
Okay, well, thank you for hosting this. I do strongly believe in proximity in every aspect of business. You can't do it alone. So thank you for doing this. I know a lot of people appreciate these. I've been watching them closely. My story, my career, I have actually after college, I was in the financial industry and had never traveled as a child or growing up and didn't know what the world had to offer. But through that career, you know, I had more finances. We started traveling and falling in love with travel. And then in 2005, when we made a decision that I would stay home with my son, I retired from the financial industry and was home for 2 weeks and decided I needed to do something from home. I needed to keep my mind busy and keep working. And so I started looking for opportunities, businesses to buy, what would be interesting. And I kept stumbling, going back to travel, kept going back to, you know, I want to see more of the world. And I felt like I was behind in that. I was already, you know, in my 30s and I had only been to Mexico and Hawaii, and there was so much out there to see. And so I saw a franchise opportunity, knew nothing about the business. I thought that would be a good way to learn about it. So I purchased that franchise and it taught me a lot. It was really a great 7 years of learning and exploring and getting to know the industry. And I had outgrown that particular model, which was restrictive by zip code, which we know doesn't really work in a virtual or online world. And so I launched my own brand and my own agency in 2012. That was Divine Destination Weddings. And from the beginning, from 2005, when I first started travel, I had always been focused on destination weddings and honeymoons. And then in 2012, when I branched off on my own, I also created a second brand where I could move my wedding clients to. So that's Travel by Divine. And at that point, my agency became a host because I had some ICs that were very interested in being associated with the new brand. And so that's how I became a host to 10 independent contractors also. So that's our business model now, is both destination weddings, vacation travel, luxury travel. You know, we're travel advisors, so we do it all.
Great. So April just touched on rebranding and she touched on ICs. We're going to have a hot topic thrown in there later of fees. So thank you for introducing a lot of what we're going to talk about, because they are hot topics with your peers. Because we're watching our industry bring people who have had careers and have stepped away to raise children as well, bringing them back into the industry, as well as bringing in a whole new generation. We know that this can be really emotional when you step back and when you make that decision to, I'm going to stay home and raise my kids, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh gosh, I'm really missing having a career. So I think you offer some inspiration there. April, what would you share with the people who've joined us today on what that looked like for you?
Well, it was really emotionally difficult. You know, I'd worked full time since I was 14 years old, and now I'm 33 years old, and I'm told, you know, don't be independent anymore. Don't
Yeah.
have your own money. Don't, you know, it was all tied up in my self-worth. And so the feedback I got from everybody was very supportive. Oh, you're going to stay home with your kids. That's such a noble thing to do. Good for you. That's, you know, where you should be, and be there for your kids, and all this positive feedback. And then when I was home and I went into this kind of mental state of, who am I? I mean, I love being home with my kids, but there's got to be a way to do both. There's got to be a way to be productive and produce and still be at home with my kids. So when I started the travel business, which was going to be, you know, everybody said the hobby, the home-based mom hobby, because 2005, you know, everything home-based still was kind of MLM and kind of kitschy. We didn't have a whole lot of like real companies being run from home. So I just leaped in. My husband was great and supportive. Family and friends were kind of the last to come around, I think. And when I started traveling, I started getting negative feedback, like, you know, how can you be away from your family that long? Oh, my husband would never let me travel. And so then I was dealing with that side of it. And, you know, we all know if I was a man, nobody would be asking me why I have to travel on business.
Yeah.
And so it was just dealing with all of that. But after, you know, people really saw my focus and that things were starting to really happen in the business, and it was developing into something more than a home-based hobby, everything changed, and the support from family, friends has been amazing.
Yeah, what you were just sharing really resonated. I'm seeing comments come up about people saying, gosh, that's really a topic. And you and I have connected on this so many times, as I have 3 children, one kind of grown, 2 almost grown. And the number of times I would sit down with family and friends and they'd be like, well, you travel a lot. And I did, but that didn't mean that I wasn't a really great wife and a really great mom, and also building a really great career. And I don't know what the perfect response is, but maybe that's a whole nother Learning Lounge series where we talk about what our elevator speech is on that one. You were quick to you were quick to get successful, and this came apart because of goal setting, which I love. And it takes a lot of courage to set a goal, because when I set a goal, I could fail. Right? It's really easy to not set a goal. And as April and I were prepping for today, I was sharing these. I'm like, okay, so I've got this great data, and April, research shows that when we share socially what our goal is, we have an 82% chance of achieving it. And when we actually put some skin in the game, we pay for something, we have a 96% chance of achieving our goal. And April goes, I didn't do any of that. My goals are my goals. So share with the group a little bit about goal setting. And then Lynn, I believe we're also going to have an entire Learning Lounge on productive goal setting, correct? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Sorry, yes, we are actually, and it's purposeful goals, which I'm excited to, because it's not just like financial goals or just specific, you know, number and revenue, you know, checklist that I think so many of us are always striving for. But I think the purposeful goals is going to be a really good topic to find out what's important to you, your business, your values. And so I think it's going to be even more of a strength conversation than just, you know, how to set a goal and check it off the list. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. That's great. So April, your goal setting out of the gates, what did that look like for you?
Well, I started the franchise in July 2005, and my initial goal was I wanted to sell $50,000 in travel by the end of the year. That was my goal. And I had a bridal show plan, just one. And I thought, you know, that's realistic. I can do that in 1 year, one bridal show. Even though I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to figure this out and it's going to happen. And I found that it happened very quickly. And I actually sold about 300,000 in the first couple months of business, and have had double-digit growth year after year. And, you know, then your next goal becomes 500,000, 750, a million, and 1.5 million. And at some point, I just stopped setting those financial goals, those big targets. And now what my goals really look like are, you know, I want to book 10 safaris this year. I want to lead a group to Iceland. I want to book an Arctic expedition. So my goals now become more destination focused and more fulfilling, places that I want to go, new bucket list items for me. But early on, I think goal setting was really important to me. I just didn't put it out there. I'm not a fan of failure, nor public failure, right? So I think a lot of people can share in that humility that I'm going to set a goal, but it's what my definition of success is right now. And if I'm a busy stay-at-home mom with 2 kids and I can dedicate 4 hours a day to my business and that's it, my realistic goal might be $300,000 a year. And if I put that out there and the person next to me, their goal is $750,000, I don't want to feel like I'm less of a business person because my goals aren't as competitive. I think you have to set personal goals that are realistic to your life and achieve them in whatever way you're comfortable, but you have to be realistic with your life circumstance also.
Okay. Lynn has prompted a slide right here, which is so great. And so again, the big idea of today's learning lounge was, transitioning. You've got this book of business, all these customers you've serviced on destination weddings, and how do we turn those into FIT and luxury FIT clients? Because at Classic, to kind of do a shameless commercial for us, we have 40 years of experience doing high-end luxury FIT travel. Largely, we were able to grow our group business because we had that halo effect of a reputation. Now I kind of want that reverse osmosis, right? So we've got these customers who have come to us on the group side, and we want to help you to help them on their luxury FIT. So before we go down that path, you obviously have dozens of learnings, April, that you can share with the viewers today on destination weddings and building that side of the business. Can you walk us through those? And I think we have some of them on the screen.
Yeah, well, I think that the slide really sums it up that if you're not learning every year, you can't offer something new. So decide what country or what new city you're going to learn and go there and really learn it. I'm not the kind of person, when I do a site inspection, I write down every tiny detail and this, because we know those are going to change month to month as the hotel remodels and changes. So I'm a vibe person. How does this hotel feel to me? What kind of client would I send here? And it's the same way with a new destination. So if you want to learn something new, you've been to Cancun, you've been to Puerto Vallarta, go to Campeche or Merida or somewhere new. And what is that vibe? Who would you send there? Learn that destination and then start offering it. Same with hotels. If somebody comes in with a budget and they say, I'm willing to pay $600 a night for a hotel, or whatever that budget is, I always offer them a Reach hotel. And that would be the more luxury side of it. So here's the hotels that fit closer to your budget. But what you're really telling me you want is this hotel experience, and this is how much more it costs, but this is how much more you're getting for your money, and this is how this hotel will make you feel. So that's how offer the Reach hotels. And the contracts, when you're doing a group contract, always write your own contract. Take the dates you're given, make them deadlines earlier, make your deposits higher, build in change fees to every guest. Make sure you're being paid for your time, and of course charging planning fees for your destination weddings. But I really find that doing that and offering those Reach hotels, learning the new destinations, those are going to really build much more of a luxury business from the start. And then every time you're talking to a guest, make sure you're always reiterating that you are a travel advisor. You are the travel advisor for the group. You are the travel advisor for after the group, any of your future travel. Get away from saying that you're any other title. You want to be the travel advisor, not the wedding planner.
That's great, April, and such a great segue into my next question, which was, did you start with the end in mind? And I don't want to jump too far ahead because we're going to kind of still talk about destination weddings just a little bit, but at any point in time when you were, 2005, and you're building your business and you're building your brand, was your end game high-end luxury travel? Was it, I guess that one of the recent phrases I just came across is, did you have milestones set in place, or if they weren't milestones, did you have inch pebbles, right? Little things in place that were going to move you in this direction, or did it just happen? And if there was anything you wish you would have known early on that would have benefited your end game, hindsight's 2020, what would you share with the group?
Okay. I would say luxury travel was not the goal from day one, because I was not well traveled and did not really know what that meant. Great service was what I was focused on in the beginning. So as I began to travel more and realize there's a lot more out there than, you know, all the big chain hotels and, you know, a lot of 4-star all-inclusive. So I started staying in a lot of other types of properties, staying in suites and higher end properties. And I thought, these are the hotels that I want to stay in. So don't other people. And then I began a more deliberate refocus of offering those reach hotels and just really going for it. Because if you don't put it out there, you don't know. And if you don't experience it, you don't know. Luxury is kind of this mystical, what is that, right? And so I just got really bored with the same old hotels and destinations and started exploring more, and then just made sure I was offering those to people. In hindsight, I would say I really wish I would have became a member of Signature Travel Network earlier. Okay. I think it would have really propelled my business, my luxury travel business, much, much sooner.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later this morning. In reading your article in Luxury Agent, there's a reference to #1 in classifications group sales 3 times. And it's been more time since then. That's just when the article was written. Is a member of the Knott's Hall of Fame and ranks among the top performers for Wedding Wire. Not sure if you listened in on your colleague Kendra's PR session, and for all of those who maybe didn't, it's obviously in the Learning Lounge library. She talks about this concept, utilizing your accolades and maximizing these opportunities. What suggestions or comments would you make for that group? Because that's a theme we're hearing, right? We're watching these powerful business people who are our customers say, I'm doing this. So what advice can you share with the group?
I did listen to Kendra. She's a wonderful business person and a colleague of mine through Signature. And she's spot on. I mean, she's brilliant with marketing and spot on with self-promotion and social media and press release and really utilizing all of those tools. And she does it beautifully. I am not a social media guru, but I do promote what magazine covers and achievements and articles I've been published in. I do promote them on social media and on different online resources. I'll also add them in my email and my signature, or send out a release through client base to announce it to my clients. And I think clients don't want to be browbeat with your accomplishments, but I think it's really nice for them to see that somebody that they trust and they're working with is being acknowledged, and it builds more trust and it helps you stay top of mind. But definitely posting. I don't do any really paid advertising on those things, but there's so much free stuff available, press releases and, you know, local media, but social media and your own book of business are great places to start with that.
Yeah, I really love how organically, I mean, when you, that very opening quote is like, hey, if you have 10 groups, you have enough to grow your FIT business, which I think is really, really powerful. To your point about kind of the credential piece of it, I'm watching a lot of our industry colleagues, our peers on the hotel side and the tour operator side, but your peers as well, April, that are utilizing this opportunity right now for what I would call stackable credentials. So that could be an edX course, that could be something through, I think I'm seeing Florida State University and some type of hospitality certification. And then of course, the pieces that you're sharing. And I think that you and I having college age kids, we know that, you know, those stackable credentials and being super present and understanding what it looks like now in 2020 is better than, you know, your MBA you got back in 2005. So I commend you for that and utilizing that. And of course, you and Kendra and others inspiring your peers. As we start to transition, one of the things you did, so you had the power of April, and then you built out a team. And what was your vision here? Was it, because at that point in time, it's destination weddings, honeymoons, you're you're definitely putting little pieces out there that say, hey, I'm gonna sell you the right feel. I'm not gonna just sell you the hotel that your neighbors went to. Were you gonna have a bunch of mini Aprils out there when you were building out your team? What did that look like?
There's no mini Aprils, that's for sure. All of the people that I work with, all of my ICs are incredibly intelligent, strong business people that run their businesses very well. And together we're an amazing collaboration under the Divine umbrella. And each person brings something really unique and a wonderful knowledge set to the table. And that's why we work together. I did have the intention early on to build a team, but I was really particular. I didn't need to build a team, but I thought it is great to have colleagues and people close by that you can relate to and bounce ideas off of and grow with and travel with. And so I really looked for people with high integrity, and as independent business owners, I wanted them to have their own drive, their own focus, their own love of travel. And I have two main guidelines when I bring on an IC. The first one is that they have to be someone I want to have dinner with, and they have to be somebody that I want to travel with. And the group of people that I work with right now are just really tremendous in that. So I could be a big company right now, honestly. I get calls from ICs all the time, but I want to be small. I want to be focused, want to be high touch, and I want this amazing collaborative team that we've built to stay tight. And it gets tricky when you start bringing in a lot of people. So boutique, high touch, that's who we are. And we don't all do the same thing. We all have done destination weddings. Some people are more focused on Europe. We have different signature travel experts in our group that are focused on different destinations. So whatever their focus is, they're bringing something to the table that makes us more well-rounded.
And so recently, and so not to jump too far ahead chronologically, but I know that over the last year, you actually hired Hillary Hamilton to, you and she met and talked about, just the foundation of your company, because it was changing, right? And because it was changing, you had ICs that maybe were going to stay doing the same business model, or ones that maybe hadn't even expanded really on what would be their area of expertise. So if you're doing destination weddings and you're doing, I'm going to make it up, African safaris, and you have somebody who has a huge passion for castles in Ireland, and you want them, they fit those descriptors of somebody who you'll travel with and someone you'll have dinner with. You want to make sure that you're fulfilling them. And so Lynn, I think the next slide prompts some of the work that April and Hillary did together to support this overall transition.
Yeah, working with Hillary was great. We brought her in for a weekend retreat, and each IC worked independently with her to decide what their personal focus was going to be, what their strengths were, and how they can build their business, and if they choose their own brand based on that. And some of the ICs do use their own branding. Some fall under Divine and just use Divine exclusively. I mean, there is a lot of reputation and power that goes into being associated with a brand that has 15-year history now and solid sales and a good reputation. So building out and being your own brand and associating with Divine, I think has given them extra wind beneath their wings to increase their sales. And working with Hillary and finding that niche, I've had such amazing feedback from them that they really feel more inspired and renewed and have kind of gotten out of that fatigue sometimes you get after doing the same thing over and over again for years. I know I felt that with destination weddings. I've done over 750 at this point, and
wow.
You do get fatigued doing that over and over again. And so it's been great. I think everybody got so much out of working with her and are more focused in their own personal branding and their own focus now on where they're going to go in the future. And I totally support that if they're using their own brand or using mine, and what their specialty is going to be. If it's completely outside of destination weddings, it's fine.
Yeah, that's great, April. I think that when you talk about fatigue, and when I took over this role that I'm currently in at Classic, even though my team and I previously had sold a lot of groups, I never really looked at it as how much work it is, because it's not just one group contract, it's 50 FIT bookings in that one group. So I just sold one group, but it's 50 FIT bookings. That's 100 different personalities. It's a lot. It is a lot. So I commend you for bringing in the outside resource like we're doing today, and we've been doing throughout the Learning Lounge, to invest in your team. And obviously that's been supportive in helping you grow pretty early on. And so we're going to start this transition now into early things that you were doing to help build out the FIT side of the business. You built out kind of, I think it was called the after the wedding game. Is that correct?
After the wedding plan. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What, and at the same time you did a brand change. What was the catalyst for all of this, Lynn? I think we have a after the wedding plan. There we go. Just walk us through this. So how you even thought to have this idea, because you're busy servicing this group and this destination wedding, and it's a lot of work. And so you're 90% here, and then they're 10% like what's going to happen after the game, which I think is great, or the plan. So share this with the group.
So I started flipping that philosophy, and it's actually 10% now and 90% after the wedding.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
if you have 100 FIT bookings, like you stated, that are in a group, I mean, you really do have to change the way you're thinking about that. Each one of those guests is a potential future client, but only if you're setting yourself up that way. So one thing that I did early on in my career is I was using kitschy terms like I'm a romance travel expert or a romance travel advisor, and that's really cute and really, really specific, right? So if you want to be seen as a travel advisor or travel professional, you really need to use the terms that the clients know, understand, and can relate to. The industry move is travel advisor. So I started being a travel advisor exclusively, no additional titles. Travel advisor is what I do. I'm not a wedding planner, and so I'm communicating that at every point of contact. I am the travel advisor for this wedding, and if you're not tapping into all of those clients as guests, as future FIT, and talking to them one-on-one and reaching out to them one-on-one, you're not going to get their future business. So I know collecting reservations via websites has become very popular because it is so labor intensive collecting them manually. And we also collect them via website, but we reach out to every guest and make sure there are several person-to-person points of contact. So if I call them, they know my name pops up, they see it over and over again, they see my cell phone, they know they can call me or text me, and I start building that personal relationship with the guests right from the start. And also stop looking for luxury clients everywhere. I get that a lot. How do you find your clients? You have the clients in your database. Tap into your database. You know, that one wedding that was 40 guests, somebody in there is going to be wanting luxury travel at some point. So mine the database for who is booking the suites, who has the money to have the longer stays. Focus your time, especially marketing, on those guests, because we know, one, they have money, and two, they have the time to travel. So don't ace out any of the guests, but definitely focus and rank them on how you're going to utilize your marketing. And I spend zero marketing dollars on luxury travel. I only advertise destination weddings. Why? Because I want all those future FITs in one booking, in one group.
Great piece of advice right there.
And then move your bride and groom to a luxury resort away from the wedding hotel. So most weddings are going to be at an all-inclusive, and that's not really flexing your muscle and what you're really capable of doing as a travel planner. So try to get that couple to do their honeymoon at one of the luxury properties nearby, even if it's just for 2 or 3 nights. And they're going to share that information with their guests. They're going to put it all over social media, and you're going to be able to chime in on their social media, take credit for that booking, get your name associated with it, and get their friends chiming in. That's a place I'd like to go. And it starts another conversation right there. So more potential for new business. And then initiating the second brand is if you have a name that's really specific, like Divine Destination Weddings, I mean, what do we do? There's no question about what that brand does. So if you're that specific in the name of your company, you may consider initiating a second brand that you would begin marketing immediately after the close of the wedding. So after travel, they're now going to get an intro. It was wonderful working with you. You're now being transferred to our vacation brand. We're so excited to plan all your future vacations. It seems obvious, but people aren't doing that. You're missing that opportunity to introduce those guests to your vacation travel.
Yeah, one of the questions that just popped up, April, is, should we have two brands? That stresses me out, right? And so one, I would encourage the viewer who just asked the question, go back and look at the brand audit piece. But Lynn, let's circle back to that question towards the end of it. So save that one. April, you just touched base on two things that are hot topics. One was earlier about contracts, and Lynn mentioned June 30th, we're doing an entire learning lounge on communication, contracts, and protecting your business. This is especially for those of us who are newer to the industry, understanding that contract and how to communicate it is critical. But if you guys hear one thing from Marjorie Sherman over the course of the next couple months, it is going to be exactly what April was just saying, is that the bride and groom or whoever signed that contract, that is not your only customer or your only person who's booked. So if we take the current climate right now, where we're looking at like moving destination weddings from this July to December, it's not enough just to reach out and have a conversation with whoever signed that contract. Every single person in that group is your customer, whether it's things are good and easy or things are tough and we have to move them, and understanding that's really critical. So April, thank you for sharing that. We can say it all day long, but when our customers hear it from their peers, it's far more powerful. So recently, the scale shifted. It was, you were groups and some FIT, and recently the numbers are your FIT business outweighs the group business, and we celebrate that with you. What does that look like? How does that feel for you?
Well, it's really gratifying. I mean, it means we're doing something right when you focus on destination weddings for so long and then make the switch to, I really want to be a full service travel agency, and we have become that. It's really exciting. I think all of my team, really rejoice in that we built something together that's really fun and awesome. And I really love my days so much better. I mean, there's more diversity. I'm not just doing destination weddings and beach honeymoons all day. I'm traveling all over the world through my customers every day now, learning new destinations. I come into work this morning and I know that I have a safari I get to work on after this call, and that gets me really excited. And so I love having the diversity in destinations all over the world.
Well, congratulations. And we're really, at Classic, we're really excited to be, obviously, you make a promise to your clients that you don't get to keep. You rely on us to keep it. We rely on our suppliers. So we're just grateful for the opportunity to execute perfectly for your clients.
Thank you.
You found, but we're getting really close just to going straight into only talking about luxury, but you found that with your EP hotels, that there was a little bit of vagueness when they were marketing themselves, because that progression, right, is that you've got destination weddings, then you've got this interest in luxury, and now you've got, you do more with Graham Bayless with weddings maybe than others do, and they're an all-inclusive. But on the EP side, what were your findings and the way that you've maybe helped our suppliers bridge the gap? Entertain us with those learnings.
I do find that there is a gap dealing with EP hotels. If you want to book a wedding, let's say you stay at a hotel, which I did, and I thought, I love this hotel, I really want to sell it. So when I went to propose it to clients and I asked the hotel for wedding packages or what do they have, they don't have any, or it's just the most basic, here's the site fee, and everything else is a la carte, or you have to bring in all your own vendors from outside the resort. So what I found with the EP hotels is that a bride isn't going to book them unless they know they can afford the wedding they want at that hotel. The all-inclusives make that easy for us. Here's your tidied up package. Here's your list of extras, plug and play, you're good to go. The luxury EPs, not so much. So I worked with some of the hotels that I really like and have worked with them to put together packages that we can deliver those examples to the clients and say, look, you can't afford this hotel. Here's what you can get for your budget. And it makes it more tangible and therefore easier to sell an EP or a luxury property. Because if the bride and groom know they can afford it, because that's really what it comes down to, even if it's a big budget, 60, 70,000, which you'd be surprised doesn't get you much in Hawaii. But if they know they can afford it, they're going to figure out a way to get those guests to come. And that's where you also come in and set up payment plans for the guests and get them there. But work with your hotels. They want to know how to be better. So offer that up and say, this is what I've learned. This is what my clients want to see. This is what I need to sell your hotel. I want to book a wedding group there. Help me sell you. And they'll work with you.
Yeah, that's great. So let's jump to 2017 and your reset, back to goal setting. And I think that, your feature today was Luxury Travel Advisor. You were quoted as saying, you want clients that value your planning and your expertise. So I'm a huge proponent of charging fees. You add that you must speak to the clients on the phone before deciding to do business with them. It's a personality check. I don't take on all clients. I take on the clients that I feel I can add value to and that value my services, have realistic expectations for travel, and they hear what I'm saying. There has to be a connection that is going to make it a successful relationship, even if you have to work really, really hard for it, and I'm okay with that. Do you think in any way, because fees could be an entire 1 month series, by heightening your value and reinforcing that, the price consumer perception shifted?
Absolutely. I think charging a fee creates a totally different relationship between you and the client. It sets a professional tone, it clearly identifies you as the expert in the relationship. And people are tangible. They want something for their money, and travel, when you're just starting to plan, it's not always easy for them to know what you're going to deliver. So you have to make it more tangible. So interview them, and on that call you have to show your skills and explain your knowledge and display the knowledge about whatever they're talking about. You have to prove yourself that you are an expert and you know more about them, and that you have the resources to make their trip really special. At the end of the call, I just tell them my fee, and then I'm going to send them a recap and a link for them to submit the fee. I always assume I have the business. If you're on the phone with me, you're giving me your credit card. It's really simple. I'm not going to waste my time. If it's not a good fit, and I somebody calls me and they're like, well, I saw it on this website and this website and this website, and they're really not open to hearing anything, it's just a price issue, I decline the business. That's not, and I'll let them know I'm at the point in my career where I don't do that kind of business, and I will just let them know that. And you have to value yourself if you want other people to. So,
well, and that perceived value. Yeah. So when April and I were getting ready for today, we were talking about a book that I'd recently been reading. It talked about an Hermes scarf and how much that costs. It's $1,200, $1,400, and who buys that scarf. But if we sold that same scarf, same materials, same person making the scarf, and we sold it for $39, not the same people would be wearing it. So kind of protecting your confidence in what you bring to the party makes a big difference. In the last 4 to 5 years, you've really seen the luxury piece of your business grow, and you credit a lot of this to your relationship with Signature, very focused and very targeted. What have been your most important learnings? So I think we're going to prompt the slide that's got some takeaways. So if I said, April, I've got over 100 people here today, all who have successfully built great businesses in the destination wedding and honeymoon market, what are you going to tell them to do? Like, they leave here today, what should they be thinking about?
Okay. Well, you definitely have to have a robust marketing strategy for wedding guests. I think most people miss that opportunity, like we've talked about. You need to be communicating with every single wedding guest as if they are an individual FIT booking. And be aligned with the right agency, the right host, the right consortia, because if you're with the right ones, they have very good marketing strategies and good pieces. With Signature, ours is all automated. We plug in what we want and they take care of it. And so you really want to think about how to maximize your time by aligning yourselves with the right companies. avoid getting stuck with the same destination, same hotels year after year. I call this the get out of the bonus mentality. We have a lot of people that have been in the destination wedding industry a long time, and I feel like they're stuck. They're doing so much of one brand or one chain that they've really boxed themselves in. And there's only so far you can go with that. And it's a great place to start, but you've got to be willing to push the boundaries, learn new destinations, learn new hotels, and have more in your repertoire to offer your clients. And I think people are losing business now because of that. They don't want to get married at the same hotel all their friends got married at. So you got to have other hotels in your repertoire. Create a relationship with every wedding guest, as we've said. Make sure you're reaching out to them, make sure you're emailing, make sure you thank them for their business, and always, always, always reiterate that you're the travel advisor. Travel, 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 travel. I am not the wedding planner. I am the travel advisor. So make sure that you're clarifying your role throughout the process with the entire wedding group.
That's a great summary to what we've talked about. So Lynn, I know right now is when we would normally open up for Q&A. I'm going to beg of you for an additional 5 minutes really quick. April, I'm going to consolidate some of what we talked about here and just kind of go into some more of the Q&A that you and I had established for what I think are the hottest topics. So just a fun one is that there's a lot of TV show based travel right now, right? I mean, I just finished watching My Brilliant Friend, which is was based in Naples, and they go off to a wonderful little island. The Bachelor and Bachelorette, they're always flying off to these great places. And you've been pretty genius in what I would call these pop-up celebrities and clients asking for these destinations. Are you purposely doing something to stay ahead of this curve, or you know that they're all watching this on ABC, so you happen to have something over here that lets your potential customers know that you're an expert in this area?
Yeah, I noticed this trend early on with the Kardashians when they went to Bora Bora, and I got calls all of a sudden. A lot of people went to honeymoon in Bora Bora, and I thought, why is this? And then I started realizing that trend that people, it can be subconscious. They don't even realize that a destination is stuck in their mind, and then it's somewhere they want to go. Or when you mention it, it's more attractive to them because they've now heard of it somewhere. So I mean, I have an unhealthy reality TV addiction. I'm just going to put it out there. And so I do really pay attention to the destinations. And it's a sweetener. If you're proposing to somebody and, you really think they need to go to, Fiji instead of St. Lucia, it can be a sweetener. Oh, are you a Survivor fan? Do you know Survivor has filmed the last 5 seasons in Fiji on Mana Island? Do you know that Liku Liku is like the shortest boat ride away? And use it as a sweetener to get that sale. It's fun.
That's great. So one of the things I really liked about is this concept of giving your customers permission to spend the money. So you made a natural progression, somewhat deliberate, but just kind of happened naturally to go from mainstream to luxury. Was this because you were interested? We talked about that. But you were able to, it's the clients were there, they don't necessarily have the awareness, but it was almost as if you had to give them permission. What did that look like? What's some best advice you can give to your peers on that?
Well, I think if you're really, really listening to what your clients are describing, whether it's a destination wedding or a FIT, they're almost always describing an elevated experience, but their budget doesn't reflect it. So you show them something that's in their budget, but you have to show them the Reach Hotel and give them permission to spend it. This is a really important trip for you. This is special. This is your honeymoon, or this is your anniversary, or this may be your last trip without your children, or this may be your last trip with your children. You have to find what it is and give them permission to spend that extra money and really have that elevated experience. With destination weddings, brides come in and my guests will not pay over $250 per person per night. And I say, yes, they will. They will thank you for the elevated experience. They will thank you that you made them fly all the way to Mexico or all the way to a Caribbean island and you're serving them up something fabulous. They're getting a vacation too. And here's the payment plan and how we're going to pay for that, how we can get your clients to make it affordable. So give them permission to spend the money. Be bold.
Perfect. Okay, as we get to the end here, I'm going to do my quick shot questions at you that we always like to end our calls with. Best advice for growing your knowledge and showing your knowledge to your clients.
Got to go to a new destination every year. Go somewhere far. Go somewhere interesting. Go somewhere that is thought-provoking and conversational. Post it all over social media. Show your clients you're traveling luxury, and that'll start a conversation with them.
Okay, so nice segue into social media. So social media influencing, being aligned with your brand and self-promotion, go. What's your best advice?
I'm so bad at social media. Really, I have no intention of being an influencer. Frankly, I think people are over the perfect shot influencing things, and people want to see real, authentic people traveling and having fun and enjoying life, and that's who my clients connect with. So just post it. Post as you're traveling. Post as you're having memories. Keep it authentic. Keep it natural. Yeah.
Best trip you ever planned?
All of my own trips. I'm going to be selfish and say I love planning family vacations for my own family. You know, we did a safari in the gorilla trek last year. We've done 2-week private driver through Ireland, and those trips are so special to me. I mean, I like planning trips for other people, but only if I get to go.
I hear you. I'll go with you. When the dust settles, sometime soon, what trends are you seeing and what are you doing to be ready for them?
I think people are just itching to get out, but the world is not cooperating yet. So I think it's going to be a lot of domestic travel, if any travel, for the next several months. In the fall, people are already trying to get out of the country to the islands, to Mexico, the South Pacific, the areas that are considered a little bit safer. But I think next year, I think Europe will be back starting in the spring. Europe will be stronger than ever. Australia, getting a lot of requests. We're booking out Australia for 2021. And exotic travel, anytime you can learn a new destination that will attract that type of client that are already adventurous, learn it, because that's your bread and butter during trying times.
Very good. So I think, Lynn, cue up the next slide. Just in terms of like best practices, things that you want to leave your peers with, things that they can go work on today.
Yeah, create your own goals. That should be your definition of success, is you meeting the goal that's important to you, not what everybody else is doing. Build trust with your suppliers by being direct, honest, and own your knowledge, I think is really important. Working with suppliers, you don't want to always have your hand out and say, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. Hotels the same way. You want to pocket those favors for when you need them. So keep them in your back pocket and build trust with your clients. If you don't know a destination that they want to go to, tell them to give you 3 days and you'll be an expert. So just be direct, own your knowledge. And most importantly, be extremely ethical in your business. $1 today is not worth your reputation tomorrow. So just sit on that for a while, because it's very important in today's climate that we understand that.
Yeah, that's been a big one. And I know that, April, that we're, it's so important to do business with people who have aligned philosophies. And like us, we feel at Classic, it's just as important for me to take care of my customer as it is for me to take care of my supplier. And I know that for April and how she's always shown up in partnership with us, today is a great illustration of April taking care of her supplier, sharing with her peers for sure, but April shows up, it's just as important to take care of your customer as it is your supplier. And these words of wisdom, share that with us. So I think, April, you have a great summary slide. You've got recent success, and it's kind of your family mantras here.
Yeah, so, we say be bold, be courageous, be remarkable. That's how we run our house. That's how we raise our children. My son's a world-class athlete, and it's how I run my business. So here's some things that would fall under those categories for you to consider so that you can be bold, be courageous, and be remarkable in your business and in your life. I don't know if you want me to go through them, but, always assume you have the client's business, charge fees, When you're planning a trip for somebody, always think about where they're going to go after that trip, even if they haven't left yet. What else are you thinking about? What are your dream locations? Be courageous by getting out and traveling to new exciting destinations and new hotel experiences, and be remarkable every time. Every time you talk to a client, you're leaving a lasting impression and you're planting a seed for future business.
That's great. So I would just like to close it with one of my favorite quotes that you shared, I believe, in Luxury Advisor magazine as well. So Lynn, if you could prompt that one up, that would be great. I was in the corporate world for a long time, in a man's world in brokerage and investments. And when I left that world, I thought, number one, I never want to work for someone else. Congratulations. Number two, I always want to choose who I work with. Congratulations. And number three, I am never going to wear pantyhose again. And so I think check, check, check. April, I think we're going to open it up. There's 52 comments in the chat area. Lynn's going to scold me at about 10:01 for going over time, but you're such a good partner of ours, April. And I'm just watching, you'll be able to relish today just in hearing some of the kind words from your peers about sharing your knowledge. I know that you're always open to sharing, and so we thank you for that. So Lynn, I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you again for letting the group's team participate in the Learning Lounge.
My pleasure. I'm glad you guys are here because, again, I think it's a great conversation. So some of the questions for you, April, again, a little bit specific, but I do want to, kind of get your take on it because it's a little bit different. But one agent had asked previously, you had mentioned about having your own contract. And I know we'll talk about this in the future, but from your perspective, when you have your own group room block contract or just even, an individual contract, can you talk a little bit about what they sign versus what you sign and how that process works for you?
I have a template contract that I use. So my contract with Classic, for example, is my contract. So I'm on the hook for that because I'm signing it. And then I need to write a contract that's between my couple and myself. And I need to make sure that all of my dates and dollar amounts are protected so that my contract with Classic isn't affected if my couple messes up, right? So I'm protecting myself, and then, Classic has their contract with the supplier. If you look at the whole big picture, there's a whole lot of contracts going on and a lot of dates. So you want to make sure your dates are early. And then my dates are really early. Like my contracts are paid off before the first attrition date. So nice. I set my dates very early with my groups. I make my wedding guests commit very big. I don't do less than a $300 per person deposit, and that's way out, and then they're paid in full by the first attrition date. That protects me from attrition. It protects my bride and groom, and so you can take Classic's contract and rewrite it, but just be really careful that you're always getting that. And then when you send out your information to the wedding guests, there needs to be a complete disclosure on that with all of their dates, details, fees, non-refundable deposits only. And then if you do refund somebody, you're a hero, right? I've worked hard, I've gotten you that refund, but make sure you have those contracts buttoned up.
No, perfect. No, I think that's too, just you learn from experience. You get burned once, and then I think just putting it in writing and making sure you're consistent is a really good practice for sure. One other question, you did share kind of how you have two different brands in the sense that you've got your destination wedding, your romance business, and then you have a separate business for your luxury travel. Lauren had asked kind of like, how do you navigate that with social media, or how do you have two different brand messages?
Well, it's a good question, and it can be a bit tricky. The navigation with marketing, I'll start with that. We market through client base, through Signature. We have two brands. So we move the profile to the new brand, and that's automatic. So that's a no-brainer, easy for us. Social media can be a little trickier because I really feel like on social media, you're branding yourself. So it's you. Like I want people to think of April Schmitt when they think of travel. I really don't care if they think of my tagline or my brand. I want them to think of me. So on social media, I'm going to be April Schmitt, and I'm a travel advisor. And then, Divine Destination Wedding, the company has a fan page and all that, and Travel by Divine has the fan page. But it is really difficult to manage all of that. So unless you have the resources to do that, brand your name. You are your business.
Perfect. And then just from a practicality standpoint, do you have two separate websites for each brand, or do you have just a single website with different pages, like pages within that, or how are you logistically separating those?
So I don't think people are real big on websites. Honestly, I don't think clients visit them very much. Really, they go to the websites to get your contact info and to submit payments. So right now we're undergoing a revamp. We have a new website launching, and we have the two brands are within the one website, but it lands on different pages, if that makes sense. So if you go to Divine Destination Weddings, you'll be able to get to Travel by Divine and vice versa, because it's all crossover, but it looks like two separate brandings.
Okay. No, that's perfect. And I think that, they obviously they partner together, but, obviously all under the brand of April. So I think it's perfect that they are linked together that way. But I think just people that are now just starting out, are learning from that. So I think just kind of sharing what worked for you and what you learned in your process, I think is great to share. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And I don't see any other questions. If you are still on the call, I know there's some other calls happening right now, actually, but feel free to ask any other questions in the comments. We will stay on for a few more minutes. And then if you're not on the call and have to jump to another, we will answer these questions in our email follow-up. But I do see Hillary and Cheryl, so thank you both for saying hello and showing your faces. April, is there anything else that you have advice for people that maybe haven't done destination weddings, so they don't necessarily have a database to start luxury? Do you have kind of pointers on just where to get started in either one of your different niche markets?
Just talk about travel nonstop, wherever you are, whoever you're with. Just let people know what you do and have knowledge behind it. Bring up casual conversation about travel. If people are always willing to talk about their vacation or their dream vacation or their dream honeymoon, it's tricky sometimes to be that person with zero business starting from day one, but just start talking about it. It's amazing. People are always planning travel. It's the biggest industry in the world. Take a bite of it.
Mm-hmm. I know that's the one icebreaker I always ask. I can't talk sports or politics or any of that stuff, but I'm like, where are you going next? And when someone tells me they don't like to travel, exactly. I literally just have to walk away. I can't do it because I don't know how to talk to them.
Yeah, and you know what I would say, one thing is, where do you want to go most in the world? Plan a group trip to that destination and start talking about that one trip and sell those spots.
Exactly.
That's how I got to Africa. So just do it. Talk to everybody about it.
I know, that's on my bucket list.
And thank you for all these awesome comments. My gosh, I'm just looking at them now and it's like gonna make me tear up. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for your time. I think it's super helpful, again, to hear your story and kind of, for you to take your time and to share is, again, something I wrote in our blog recently, is that, so many people that are successful are kind of like, oh, well, you'll have to, learn yourself, and even Cheryl Bailey talked on her call was that, people weren't necessarily, going to help mentor her. And then she found one person that was going to let her, help her out and kind of show her the ropes. And then she just shined from there. So she's giving back too with her, Facebook group. And so I do think that's important. And that's kind of what Learning Lounge was about, was just these conversations are so helpful. Even if you just take a couple pointers away, or just, someone helping you narrow down a decision to, do I have one website or two? I think those are huge time savers for everyone. And just that encouragement of, kind of seeing what happens and what works for different people and how they've succeeded, I think is huge. So thank you for your time. Perfect. Melissa, anything else you wanted to add?
No, just April, thank you so much for joining us today, for your contributions. To Lynn, to your point, there's space for everyone to be successful. And we're just so grateful that at Classic, whether it's Classic Community, our events, or, Tuesday mornings carved out for things like this, that we have this, this power of proximity, this great group of professionals who are willing to make sure that we all rise together. And just that concept alone is pretty timely, and you all know what I'm talking about. So there's space for all of us to rise together. So thank you, Lynn.
Perfect. Well, thank you all. All right. Sounds good. Well, I will follow up with you all soon and hope you have a great day. Okay,
Thank you.
bye everyone.
Bye.
Hi.
I'm just reading the comments still. It's so sweet.